fight's not over.
Stop the fight!
People.
Everybody, I come here for everybody. Kill everybody. I'm the champ. I'm the king. Kill everybody. Ah!
All right, guys, welcome back to Broke Bets. We're giving you guys our picks early for UFC 288. We got Carson, my co-host here.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to this card. Let's get right into it.
Yes, sir. We got a horrible start to the card. We got Parker Porter versus Braxton Smith. Braxton Smith, UFC newcomer, hasn't looked particularly special, but there's nothing special about Parker Porter either. We're going to take Parker Porter. You know, something I think about this fight is Parker Porter did just get knocked out, but it was off of Justin Tafa timing him. Like, you know, he came back into range, and then he pounded the left right down the middle on the chin. And I think Braxton Smith, from the highlights I've seen, it's just kind of reckless, and it's throwing random punches, and, you know, all of his wins are like first round knockouts, so, and they're not clean knockouts. I mean, go watch the highlights. They're just kind of bombarding. And I think as this fight goes on, he's going to gas out, and Parker Porter's going to take over. I'm going to take Parker Porter by decision, but no reason to bet on a fat slob on this one, or bet on Braxton, I don't think. What do you think here?
Yeah, I mean, Braxton, his first fight was in 2014 against Chase Sherman, and then his next fight was in 2020, and he's had 4 fights, or 2022, and he's had 4 fights in 2022 and 1 in 2023, and now he's already in the UFC. So, I mean, all of his fights are first-round knockouts, so if Parker Porter can withstand and get out of the first round, I think he can pour it on him rounds 2 and 3, maybe find a third-round knockout. Yeah,
I mean, Parker Porter's definitely not anything special, but, like, he has the cardio to go 3 rounds. I mean, look at the opponents Braxton Smith faced. One of the dudes, I can't remember which one, he looked like goddamn Beetlejuice, and I'm not talking about the movie Beetlejuice, I'm talking about the little black dude Beetlejuice. And I think that Parker Porter, this is going to be slightly better, and this is going to be a sloppy fight to start, maybe a little bit funny to watch. I mean, probably a little bit of a comedy show, but yeah, Parker Porter by decision.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not on the main card.
Yeah, I mean, with the way Dana schedules fights, or the, what do they call it, the War Room, they schedule fights, they probably would. But
yeah,
on a Vegas card it would be. But anyway, Parker Porter by decision. Okay, for the next fight we have Zhumagulov versus Rafael Estevam. I'm taking Zhumagulov. You know, a 14-8 record may not look that great, but this guy is also coming off, in my opinion, 2 decisions he should have won. And Estevam, this guy is a good talent and all, but I think most of his paths to victory are through the takedowns, and Zhumagulov has shown that he's kind of hard to hold on the ground, hard to control, hard to do damage on, hard to submit. So I think Zhalgas is really competitive in these striking battles, and he's gonna edge out a decision here, unless the judges screw him over again. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, Zhalgas makes every fight seem close. He's gotten the bad end of a few of those decisions here of late. Yeah, like you said, he's really good takedown defense, and he can win some of the striking exchanges. So I think it'll be a close decision, and I think he'll edge it out.
I mean, like, I think it's a really good fight to watch back. I know he got knocked out in the first round by Manel Cap, but he hit Cap with some shots that he was like, oh shit, I didn't realize you were that fast. And I think that's like an underlying part of his game. People don't realize how fast this guy is. Charles Johnson was trying to track him down to finish him in the 3rd round and literally couldn't nail down where he was going to be. And yeah, that striking is just, it's sneaky good. And he's constantly having feints on people. They're keeping him guessing. Estevam, you know, I've seen he's got a good kicking game and some other good attributes, but Zhalgas is very experienced, and like, don't let that record fool you. I mean, it's obviously good to go with an undefeated fighter in some instances, but I think this is a different story for a flyweight fight. So, anything else you got here?
Yeah, I mean, Zhalgas' competition has been pretty good. Mir Albazi, Manel Cap, Charles Johnson.
I mean, even Jeff Molina. That's a hard fight.
Yeah, I didn't want to say his name.
Anyway, Zhalgas Zhumagulov by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Ikram Aliskerov versus Phil Hawes. Taking Ikram, tough fight to predict. I just can't trust Phil Hawes, man. This guy he's as good as it gets in the first round and also as bad as it gets. And he's just got a real durability issue. I mean, he can't take punishment, and he's just all offense. His jab and his right hand are really good, and it looked obviously amazing versus Jourdain Win and even Chris Curtis before his loss. He's very good on the offense, going forward, pumping the straight punches into guys, but just can't take punches, and he tires out. That's the other downside of his game. So a real durability issue, and going the distance just being a challenge, and Ikram with being such a talent, and I think he can survive on the feet until maybe he can slow down Phil a little bit until he finds a submission. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I think Phil Hawes just has that durability issue. He can look good at times, but then, if Ikram can take him down, maybe you'll find him getting a submission here.
Yeah,
maybe Kimura, of his last 5 fights, I think is 3 of them.
And he attempts them like crazy. And he's extremely good in top control and in just side mount. Once he's in side mount, that's where that Kimura sets up so easily. But Phil Hawes does have 100% takedown defense. Given he hasn't had a lot of people shoot on him. He knocked out Jacob Malkoun, who would kind of be a guy who would, in those later rounds, have an opportunity to, but it obviously never got there. But that's the big question, Phil, in that first round, if you're going to pick him, I would imagine you're probably going to pick him by first round knockout, because I don't really see many other routes to victory for him. Ikram, though, he's got a good teep kick as well on the feet. He used that really well versus his opponent in the Contender Series, although he did struggle with some of that striking, but he's also facing a giant. It's going to be a tough part of the game. But I think he survives on the feet here. Yeah. And
Ikram's only loss is to Hamzat by first round. Okay.
Right. And who knows? There could be a knockout here. Like Phil Hawes, like I said, the durability issue. You take one punch, and his legs work like Derek Brunson's when he gets hurt. Just like they're just stiff and they don't know what to do. So, Aliskerov, submission round 2. Okay, for the next fight, we have Joseph Holmes versus Claudio Ribeiro. Taking Claudio Ribeiro, there's just a couple red flags that go on with Joseph Holmes. The Ugly Man beat Alan Amidowski. That's a good win, but it's a given win for most UFC fighters. And then just had nothing, absolutely nothing for Jun Young Park. And Holmes is more of a jiu-jitsu guy. And as soon as he was put on his back, Park just completely controlled him, which Park does to a lot of people given. But he also was outstruck and beaten by Jamie Pickett, taken down by Jamie Pickett. Ribeiro's just got that power, and it's probably likely that he finds a knockout in this fight. What do you think?
Yeah, Holmes in his last fight, he just gave up on the ground, it seemed like, to Jun Young Park. Holmes has never been KO'd before, so maybe that this would be the first time. I think in the Holmes' last fight, I had over 2.5 maybe, and it didn't get there. And I was
mad. I remember that. Yep.
So, hopefully Ribeiro can knock this man out.
Well, it's going to be an interesting fight. I think Holmes has more good length in his striking. He's got good step-in knees and keeps range pretty well, but he's not all that great offensively. And Ribeiro, extremely reckless, and it has its pros and its cons. He'll just throw recklessly, and if something hits, you're probably going down. But at the same time, he leaves his chin out there, trying to be ready to be countered at times. So weird matchup. Ribeiro has gone 5 rounds before in his in this fight I'm highlighting, but again, that guy's record's 24-20. He knocked that guy down a lot, but he was really gassed at the end of it. One scare for me would be that Ribeiro can be taken down. In that fight I highlighted, he got taken down like 5 or 6 times off balance, And that's where Holmes would really capitalize. Ribeiro tries to get up, and he gives up his back, and Holmes could easily just take the fight from there. No bet on this one. Maybe it's not go the distance. That's maybe something to look at, but yeah. Ribeiro, KO, round 1. All right, for the next fight, we have Drew Dober versus Matt Frevola. Dober on this roll. I need to see that tarantula fight with him and Jalen Turner at some point, so I'm saying he's going to win this fight. He's just durable as hell, and everyone knows that. The fire hydrant head, all the memes. His knee growths on his knees, you know what I'm saying? And Matt Frevola, durability issue. He's been knocked out before. He does have good power, but overall, I think Drew Dober dominates that.
Yeah, there can be some exchanges here to see who will get the knockout, like kind of what Frevola had with Taitar or Hotman, however you say his last name. And then, I think Dober will just be able to take a punch or two and then find a KO on Frevola's chin here.
Yeah, I see a first round knockout. Frevola really doesn't pace a fight. He's right in their face, and that's evident from that Ottman fight and the Valdez fight and pretty much every fight that he's been in. He's just right in their face. The only scare for this is that Matt Frevola does have that power, and Drew Dober is willing to sit in 50-50s. And I don't think Drew Dober would get knocked out, but there's just always that chance, and you never know.
I mean, Terrence McKinney was probably the closest to knocking out Dober. He hurt him in that first round.
Right.
And then Dober came back. 2
knees to the face, somehow gassed out, and yeah. And also, the wrestling will be really neutralized. Both these guys have wrestling backgrounds, so stand-up fight, brawl. One of the fight of the night.
This should be a fun fight.
Possible fight of the night contender if it makes it past a round, but we'll see. Dober, KO, round 1. Okay, for the next fight, we have Devin Clark versus Kennedy Nzechkwu. Taken Kennedy here. Just really impressed me, first of all, with the last performance versus Ian Kuthalaba. He got taken down in the first round, but this dude is one of the biggest light heavyweights. I always think of who Ion faced, in a row. It was Johnny Walker, another giant, I'm forgetting, and then, of course, Kennedy. All these guys are 6'6".
Ryan Spann.
Yeah, Ryan Spann, another giant. And Kennedy really improved grappling. In this Carl Roberson fight, just took him down, controlled him the whole time. But in the Ion fight, the step-in knees were just filthy, and the second round was just all Kennedy destroying him. And I think he's improving every fight. And, the Nikolai Nedramianu fight, in that fight, that should have been a draw due to a point deduction. I don't know if the refs were on for that fight, but at the same time, I think Kennedy, he won 2 of the rounds for sure. I like Kennedy for a knockout in this fight. I'm going to say in the second round. I just think that size is just such a big problem for Devin Clark here.
Yeah, Kennedy has a 5-inch height advantage and an 8-inch reach advantage. I think he's really going to use that, both those height and reach advantages to find a KO here. Hopefully he'll be able to stuff a few takedown attempts. And Clark can maybe, he might be able to get some in the first round, but I think as it goes on, I think Kennedy will find a KO at some point.
I don't like how Devin Clark fights on the fence. He'll fights with his back to the fence, and it just doesn't give you any room to operate, especially against the guys with the reach advantage. And Daun Yun, that was even a close fight, but Mirzakhanov just picked him apart on the fence during that fight. And, he's got that wrestling background, but it'll slow him down if he even tries to go for that stuff, I think. He's got a sneaky head kick. He's actually pretty flexible and has a good head kick when he throws it up. This fight, though, needs to go to round 2. It needs to happen because we need to hear in Devin Clark's corner his dad yelling, "Quit fighting like a bitch!" We need to hear that stuff in the corner. I need to hear it. It's so fucking funny. But Yeah, Devin just doesn't take damage that well, and I think that Kennedy puts the pressure on. He just needs to put more pressure on. He did in the Ion fight, and that's why he just destroyed him, but too patient in the Negumereanu fight, and too patient still even in the Roberson fight. So I think he picks him apart, uses his length, and finds a knockout. And Nzechkwu, KO, round 2. Okay, for the next fight, we have Marina Rodriguez versus Virna Jandiroba. Picking Marina. I was initially thinking that Virna could take her down, which is still obviously a possibility, but I think initially I was thinking that Virna would control her on the ground, but Marina's actually got a good sprawl, and much better than I initially thought. You go watch her Carla Esparza fight back. Carla was getting some of the takedowns, but it was way harder for Carla to secure positions. Her jiu-jitsu off her back is pretty good, and I think that Virna, she's just kind of looking for those takedowns, and on the feet, she's just there to exist. And I like Marina Rodriguez to win a decision here. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I like that as well. Hopefully she'll be able to stuff those takedown attempts and win the fight on the feet. I think that's where, if you think Virna is going to get it on the ground, then you probably have her winning. So hopefully Rodriguez can stuff those.
Well, and Virna lost to Dern.
Angela Hill.
And, she beat Angela Hill, but she lost to Mackenzie Dern, and, Mackenzie Dern's somebody as well that Marina Rodriguez pretty much destroyed. And then, right. I don't know, in this one, though, Virna does have really good double legs. She times them pretty well, but I said that sprawl did seem pretty decent to me from the times I saw it. And that was also 3 years ago when she fought Carla, so you have to expect that her wrestling's even better at this point. Something I don't like that Rodriguez, in her last couple fights is she's missing a lot of punches. When she fought Yan Jourdain, she missed just a lot of strikes, and she throws almost too many hooks instead of straight punches. She has that power, obviously, but definitely needs to connect more. She's got good aggression. But yeah, Virna can compete. Not putting a bet on this fight, but I like Rodriguez. Okay, for the next fight, we have Daniel Santos versus Johnny Munoz Jr. Taking Daniel Santos, some question marks with his game, being obviously missing some strikes versus Arce in his UFC debut, and then, being hurt a lot by John Castaneda before the comeback win that was insane. I think that Daniel Santos, though, is just a pressure fighter, and he's just a really threatening fighter. And Johnny Munoz, he has good BJJ, but Daniel Santos really showed in that Castaneda fight that it's really hard to hold this guy down. And Johnny Munoz, for being a good jiu-jitsu guy, doesn't have the craziest of submissions or submission attempts or grappling. So I think Daniel Santos survives some of this attacks from Munoz if it goes to the ground, and I think he does more damage in the stand-up than he gets a knockout here. What do you think?
Daniel Santos, he's a finisher. I think he only has one win by decision, and the rest are finishes. I think he'll just be putting that pressure on. He'll probably take some damage too, but in the end, I do like him to win by finisher.
Yeah, Johnny Munoz, he just fought Ludovic Shaolien, the guy that was on Tough, and he was really, that guy's not good. He just gets grappling up on the fence, and he's horrible at striking, and Munoz really didn't put it on him that much at a single moment. I think that Santos just throws so much spinning, wild, crazy shit that something's bound to hit, and if it's not a KO, I think that he has the aggression to win at least 2 of the rounds for a decision, because Munoz is very circles the octagon a lot. So yeah, Daniel Santos, KO, round 2. Okay, for the next fight, we have Khaos Williams versus Rolando Bedoya. Taking Khaos Williams. That power is just tough to deal with. And, I watched Bedoya's highlights, and he's pretty hittable, man. And you just can't be hit by a guy like K.S. Williams. I'm giving Williams a KO in the first round here. I'd seen one of Bedoya's fights. I think it was this one, and he got damn near knocked out. He had chicken legs, and it wasn't even like the strongest of punches, I don't think. And I think if you get just even touched by Williams on the chin, there's a chance you're going down. So, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, Bedoya is making his UFC debut here, and what an opponent to be fighting here for your debut, a huge power puncher. Bedoya hittable at times. I think Williams will be able to find that knockout blow.
And, I liked a lot of what Bedoya does in his fights. And, the hard part is that 14-1 record, not super polished. There's some good fighters on there, but really not the greatest records you're facing. I really like his calf kick, and we've seen K.S. Williams get kind of tore up by that calf kick. Miguel Baeza was really using that against him before he knocked him out. But Bedoya's really prevalent with those calf kicks, and K.S. Williams is kind of prone to that. He's got that wide stance, and Williams is a little bit off balance, which is like what I don't like about his game. He's got that power, but he's very rigid at the same time. And Bedoya, high volume. He's not in the best shape, but I think that also plays into having good cardio. His muscles don't get all tired, and he seems to have a pretty good ground game with the people he's fought. I don't think that comes into play in this fight. I think this is gonna be a stand-up fight, and if he's gonna leave himself into range to even be touched, you can't do that with K.S. Williams. So yeah, K.S. Williams KO round 1. Okay, for the next fight, we have Movsar Evloev versus Bryce Mitchell. And we just I got to take Movsar Evloev in this fight. Bryce Mitchell, good all-round game, but I think Evloev's making leaps and bounds of improvement in his game. And I think that's really evident from his Dawodu fight to his Ide fight. Used fighting at range extremely well. And used the takedowns just to keep Dan Ide off balance and then capture points in rounds. And Bryce Mitchell, it's a tough fight versus Topuria, but he got ran through pretty bad. So what are you thinking with this fight?
Yeah, obviously that loss for Mitchell doesn't look that good. But Topuria's a dog, man. He can be a future champ in this division. But yeah, Evloev, he's probably the next best grappler here. So I think he'll be able to win on the feet and probably get the better of Bryce on the ground as well.
Yeah, I think it just all comes down to being the more dynamic striker in Evloev. He's got good footwork. His jab and right hand were just money versus Dan Ige. He had step-in knees that really hurt Dan Ige, damn near knocked him out. And he's constantly feinting and keeping his opponents guessing. He tired out. A scare for him is that he got a little bit tired versus Hakeem Dawodu, but at the same time, that was kind of when he was just focusing on an all-grappling approach. I think this is going to be more of an all-striking approach, and his cardio held up fine previously doing that, so it doesn't worry me there. Bryce, though, I think that he is the better submission grappler. That's not a really bold statement, I think, to say with Evloev. Evloev's the wrestler, but Bryce Mitchell's going to be the submission grappler.
Right.
And I think Bryce Mitchell's going to fight for this to get to the ground. And, he tried to with Topuria. In the first round, he got Topuria to the ground, but when that damage added up, he just started to fade. And, he said he got tired due to sickness and the flu, but when you're getting hit by Ilia Topuria just clean over and over again, it's kind of hard to catch your breath and breathe. So, I'm not going to fully accept that excuse as a reason why you gassed out. I think he was just getting pounded on, so and that's why he got kind of ragdolled at the end of that round before he got finished. But, Bryce still has a decent short punches. a decent jab. He's got a good chin, clearly. He ate some big shots from Topuria. And he does like using kicks, but they just really don't do hardly any damage. He likes to do a little oblique kick and things like that. They just don't seem to connect too well. But overall, I do see Evloev still controlling this fight. And
yeah, I mean, Mitchell, he knocked down Barbosa, but I mean, Barbosa was so worried about that takedown.
Right.
He just kind of came over the top and clipped him.
If I were Bryce...
I don't really see that...
go ahead.
I don't see that happening here against Evloev.
Yeah, if I were Bryce, I would be feinting takedowns constantly. I'd just keep Evloev guessing constantly, because it's going to make it hard for him to strike. Like I said, I don't think Evloev will get submitted, but, Bryce is still threatening from those positions, so... but yeah, Evloev by decision. Also have a bet with already placed for Evloev and Drew Dober together, so that will be one early bet for you guys. Okay, for the next fight, we have the return of Kron Gracie versus Charles Jourdain. Taking Charles Jourdain here, I just think that Gracie, for having such great jiu-jitsu, he doesn't really have effective takedown attempts, and that's a really tough part to the game. And even if he does get Jourdain to the ground, there's a chance that Jourdain could even survive submission attempts until the next round, and who knows what happens. But Charles Jourdain at the same time has gotten taken down a lot, and he gets tripped very easily. Nathaniel Wood kind of just threw him around whenever he wanted. And Shane Burgos took his back, another scary thing. But overall, the volume I think that Charles Jourdain presents, it's just going to be kind of problemsome. And Kron Gracie just took so much damage in that Cub Swanson fight where he just let him hit him in the body as much as he wants. Charles Jourdain's got really good body work, and I think that he wins this fight by decision. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, Gracie's making a return here. His last fight was in 2019, so that's 4 years maybe. So, I mean, that's a long layoff. Yeah, like you said, Charles Jourdain was taken down quite a few times against Wood. That was mostly trips. And Burgos got his back. I mean, if Gracie gets his back like that, I don't know if Jourdain will be able to survive that. But,
right.
I don't know if Gracie will be able to get to that position. So,
and he didn't even hardly clinch up with Cub Swanson in their fight. It was just kind of him walking down. When he beat Alex Caceres, it was just a clinch on the fence, which then he pushed off the fence to get to the back, and it was a quick submission. Kind of a weird, hard guy to predict fights for. I do really like Charles Jourdain in the collar tie and the clinch. Gets that one hand around the neck, and then just works punches to the body, uppercuts to the face, high volume in those positions. I really like that about him. But yeah, just not the most trustworthy person in a fight like this, and who knows exactly how much damage he even can do when he's thinking about what Kron Gracie might try to hop onto his back whenever. So I think we make it to a decision. Both these guys are pretty tough. Unless, of course, Gracie...
Yeah, tough fight to call here.
Push for a submission, but yeah. Jourdain, by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Jessica Andrade versus Yan Xiaonan. Taking, actually, Yan Xiaonan in this fight. Jessica Andrade, she has her good moments, and I think she can really pummel on some people like Lauren Murphy who can't compete at that level, but Erin Blanchfield really was cutting down the distance on her striking in round 1 versus Andrade, and was just more direct to the target. And Andrade has that power, high volume style, but Yan Xiaonan, as we talked about earlier, made Marina Rodriguez miss a lot of punches, and it was debatable that Yan Xiaonan won that fight. And I think most people actually thought that Yan Xiaonan won that fight. And I just think that she makes Andrade miss a lot of her big punches here and outpoints her for at least 2 of the rounds for a decision. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think Andrade can be coming in with some hooks, and I think Jan can make her miss with those. I think Jan will just be faster here, in and out of range, and probably get the better of the striking here, win a decision.
And the obvious stare, I think, to this fight, and it's really hard to make this prediction because Yan Xiaonan's weakness would be her ground game. Carla Esparza just rolled right through her, no problem once she got her to the ground. Obviously, Carla's just extremely good at controlling people on the ground, but at the same time, Andrade has the strength to pick her up and probably throw her down. But it's the question of whether she gets her to the fence and does that. This is in a big cage. They can really move their feet a lot, move around the octagon. And I think Yan Xiaonan can dodge a lot of the clinch positions and then keep range and win the fight. And she's not going to fight a crazy fight. She's going to outpoint her. The Mackenzie Dern fight, I was surprised. I thought she was going to get taken down in that fight, and she didn't. She survived and made it to the decision. And Mackenzie Dern really struggled to even control her at all. So I think Yao Xiaonan, like I said, in and out of range, fast. I think she's got the speed advantage, and I think she beats her. And It's hard to make Jessica Andrade predictions because she loses to a lot of the top people, but beats so many of the other people. So we'll see. Anything else here for you?
Nope. I just think Jan will be faster.
All right. Jan decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns. We are going to take Gilbert Burns. But the odds are right on this one. This fight is, I think, dead correct for what the odds should be. You got Gilbert Burns, who's a slight favorite, I believe, like minus 130. Belal Muhammad, who's like just even money. And it makes sense to me. I mean, Belal Muhammad is extremely high fight IQ fighter, but at the same time, I think Gilbert Burns is fighting just a murderer's row of people, and Belal has consistently relied on his wrestling in order to work his striking on a lot of his opponents, and that's how he wins a lot of his fights, is mixing in takedowns in the last 2 minutes of every round. He'll just get that control time. Whereas Gilbert, I think he's just more damaging with the power he has, his hooks. Clearly, a lot of the strikes he landed on Jorge, and I think that he just outpoints him just by the power and the damage that he deals. So I like Burns by decision here.
Yeah, I mean, Belal, in his Luque fight, he would circle the cage for 2 or 3 minutes, and then when Luque wasn't expecting it, that's when he would land those takedowns. I think Burns, I don't know. I think it'll mostly be a stand-up fight here, assuming you think the same.
Yeah.
And I think Burns will just have that power and deal the more damaging strikes. It does scare me a little bit. Bilal's more of a straight puncher, and Burns likes to throw those hooks.
Right.
But I think Burns will be able to clip him at some point.
Yeah, I think I would like to bet the over 2.5 on this fight, but at the same time, I think Gilbert could touch that chin of Belal. Belal did get rocked by Luque in their fight, and he's been knocked out like twice before. So I don't know how I feel about exactly that over 2.5, but in terms of grappling,
5-round fight.
Yeah, I don't see this being a grappling fight at all. I wouldn't expect Belal Muhammad to put lotion all over himself and sweat it out during the fight like Jorge did. But I'd imagine that Gilbert just, has more power than him. Obviously, like you just said, the straight punches are a big deal. What scares me too, Belal outstruck Sean Brady as that fight was going on. At the same time, Belal Muhammad really didn't have a lot of power on those strikes. He definitely clipped Sean Brady very well, but if you like talking about how clean those punches were, his whole body doesn't work together to punch. When he throws his right hand, he doesn't pivot his back foot that well. It's just kind of throwing it out there. And Gilbert's me throwing heavy hooks, just as his style. Everyone knows. In a 2-round fight or 3-round fight, though, I think Gilbert wins 2 of them.
This is a 5-round fight.
Wait, they made this one 5 rounds? God damn. I did not even know that. Well, I still think it stands similar. I mean...
Yeah, I think it'll be a close decision.
Well, I bet the first 2 rounds then are really dead and boring. I bet there's not going to be a lot going on. Because Bilal, like you said, with the Luque fight, he skirts around the outside. I thought that this was going to be a 3-round fight. I don't even know how it became a 5-round fight. Well, anyway, Burns by decision. Okay, for the main event, we have Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo. And guys, please drop a like, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment down below on your picks, your disagreements, any bets you have early. But yeah, for the main event, we are picking Henry Cejudo. Initially, when I saw this fight, I was like, thinking Sterling, just because of how large he is. He's already probably the biggest 135er, and sounds like after this fight, he's going to go to 145, and, you know, if he wins the belt or loses, maybe he fights Volk next, who knows? Or winner of Volk versus Yair. But when I just rewatched all the film, man, Henry had some intangible things that I just couldn't ignore. I just think he's going to have a big speed advantage. You know, Aljo, very good at being high volume, using his range, but Henry was just incredibly fast versus Dominic Cruz, given that was 3 years ago, and who knows if he possesses that same speed at his age now and with the time off. I still think he does. I think he trains and coaches regularly, so I'm going to assume that that's still there. But I think he wins this decision. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, Henry Cejudo, this is almost 3 years to the day layoff for him. Yeah, like you said, initially I was thinking maybe Sterling here just because he's bigger. Probably could outmuscle him, but I just think Henry Cejudo will be a little quicker in and out of range, and his IQ is pretty darn good. I think Cejudo's kind of... his last 3 wins are probably a little tainted with his DJ2. Some people probably don't agree with that decision. And then TJ dropping down to 125. And then Bryce, horrible run after that loss. And Dominic Cruz, not the same as he was once before.
Right.
But I still like Cejudo here. In and out of range. He'll have that karate style. I think Sterling, I think it'll be a stand-up fight, and I think Sterling will not be able to get those takedowns.
Yeah, I think even if Sterling does get the takedowns, it's not going to mean as much because to draw a good comparison, I think it's going to be similar to Volkanovski versus Islam, where Volkanovski is so short and strong, it's going to be really hard for... in the same way that Henry's really short and strong, it's going to be really hard for Aljo to really get control of him unless he's in full mount or has his back. So, I think that, Aljo's just prone to gassing. That's the biggest issue he has. And, in the Petr Yan fight, in the first one, the obvious gassing, everyone knows. The second one, he's just shelling up on the ground when he gets damage coming his way, when he fails takedowns. And I think Aljo will, feint takedowns, attempt takedowns in this fight the same way he did for Petr Yan, because it just keeps Henry guessing. And Dominic Cruz was doing it versus Henry, and it was kind of effective for the first round, but Henry made the adjustments, and he came back and was less reactionary to it because Dom wasn't really going for those takedowns. But yeah, Sterling... I think he's just a little bit slower here. He's got bad body language in fights. In his last 2 fights with Petr Yan, the body language is just awful when it comes to the 4th and 5th round. And Petr Yan really failed to take advantage of opportunities in those fights. Like, Aljo just didn't have respect for Petr Yan's striking and power because Petr has that high guard. Well, Henry's not going to have that high guard, and because of that, Petr Yan was so reactionary to takedowns, and the same way he was to Merab. And Henry Cejudo is lower hand style, and he's got a big ass head. He's probably not going to get knocked out. Sterling really doesn't have knockout power. And I think Henry's just going to be touching him in and out of range. And obviously, those low leg kicks, which he seems to love these days. He always talks about coaching in his coaching, how those leg kicks are available. And it's just evident in the Dominic Cruz fight how well he used them. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, he's got that like karate stance, and he just always throws that out, and he'll get some reactions out of it and download some data, and that'll benefit him as the fight goes on.
Right, and Sterling has that like wide stance at times, and he leaves those legs out there. Henry's just gonna batter him. Marlon Moraes was doing it to Cejudo, and that's really where he was like, "Fuck, these are effective as hell." They're hitting him hard. Same thing with DJ, killing his leg in that fight. I think it's an obvious investment for a 5-round fight, just to touch the legs up a little bit when you're going in there. And like I said, in the 4th and 5th round, when Aljo's sucking on air a little bit in this fight, Henry can go forward, and similarly when he did with Marlon Moraes, he just went into the exchanges and just fucking tried to annihilate him, whereas Petr Yan was trying to be still technical in the 5th round where he could have finished the guy, And Aljo, I think if he's going to win this fight, it's got to be high volume, touching at range, and constantly moving, because Henry's going to be coming forward. Also, Aljo does have a very good body kick. He uses the teep very well, but he also uses body kicks in the first round versus Petr Yan that were very effective, and that might be a good technique for him, and he definitely clung on to that more in the rematch. But I think Triple C, he's coming back to be the king of cringe. I don't know what happens. He wins the belt. If he wins the belt, he might just vacate it and go straight to 145. I don't know. And yeah, same thing for Aljo.
Maybe Merab, but that'd be my only guess.
I don't know if anyone wants to
I don't
fight
want to
Merab.
see that though.
Yeah. I don't know if Dana wants that to happen for the division. I mean,
I don't either.
Feels like Merab could win that fight just off of volume, but who knows? Right. But yeah. Triple C, the king of cringe takes down the clown, and Aljo's good, but that size advantage, I don't know if it's going to play out how he anticipates. Anything else you got for this fight?
Nope.
All right, guys. Yeah, these are the predictions. Bets will be out Thursday for this full card. Like I said, drop a like, subscribe. Come in here with the picks, and peace.
Peace.
I know. It doesn't matter from the trenches. I'm built like this. The old doubted me said I couldn't do it. The old said I couldn't do it. Look at me now.